Lucius Verus, one of the more overlooked emperors of Rome, shared the imperial throne with Marcus Aurelius, and his story represents a fascinating moment in Roman history when dual emperorship created a unique balance of personalities, styles of leadership, and visions for the empire. Born Lucius Aurelius Verus on December 15, 130 AD, in Rome, he was the son of Lucius Aelius Caesar, who had been adopted by Emperor Hadrian as his heir before dying unexpectedly in 138 A. This sudden death disrupted Hadrian's succession plans and eventually led to Antoninus Pius being chosen as emperor, who later adopted both Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus to secure stability in the imperial line. Thus, from the beginning of his life, Lucius Verus was caught in the currents of imperial politics, destiny shaping him into a man who would rise to share the greatest power on earth. Though his reign would be colored by controversy, criticism, and questions of character compared to his illustrious co-emperor. Lucius Verus's early life reflected the privileges and pressures of being tied to the imperial family. His father's death might have removed him temporarily from the direct path to succession, but Hadrian had already ensured his future through adoption into the Nerva Antonine dynasty, the most stable and respected imperial family Rome had seen in centuries. Raised alongside Marcus Aurelius, under the guardianship of Antoninus Pius, Lucius received a traditional Roman education, though many later accounts suggest that he was less disciplined and more inclined toward pleasure than his adoptive brother. While Marcus Aurelius devoted himself to philosophy, study, and stoicism, Lucius Verus developed a reputation for charm, athletic skill, and indulgence. He was handsome, tall, and energetic, admired for his ability in physical contests, hunting, and games, yet criticized for a tendency toward luxury, drinking, and extravagance. Ancient historians like the author of the Historia Augusta contrasted him sharply with Marcus, painting Marcus as the philosopher king and Lucius as the playboy emperor, though such portrayals may exaggerate for dramatic effect. The adoption of Marcus and Lucius by Antoninus Pius was not merely an act of charity. It was a carefully calculated political decision that ensured dynastic continuity. Antoninus, ruling from 138 to 161 AD, guided both young men through the ranks of Roman political life, preparing them for the inevitable transfer of power. By the time Antoninus died in 161 A, Marcus Aurelius was the natural choice to succeed him, widely respected for his intellect, virtue, and long service to the state. Yet Marcus, adhering to principles of fairness and perhaps wishing to honor Hadrian's original succession plan, insisted that Lucius Verus be made co-emperor alongside him. This decision was unprecedented in Roman history, for while emperors had often designated heirs, shared tribunician powers with colleagues, or elevated Caesar figures, never before had Rome been officially ruled by two Augusti of equal rank. In 161 AD, therefore, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus were jointly acclaimed emperors, marking the beginning of a rare experiment in Roman governance. The immediate challenge facing the new emperors was external. The Parthian Empire in the east had been stirring unrest, and soon after Antoninus's death, war erupted on the eastern frontier. Lucius Verus was dispatched to lead the campaign, as Marcus remained in Rome to govern the heart of the empire and manage domestic affairs. This division of responsibility highlighted the different strengths or perceived strengths of the two emperors. Lucius, energetic and martial, was seen as better suited to command armies in the field, while Marcus, contemplative and deliberate, was regarded as the philosopher-administrator. Yet the true record of Lucius's role in the Parthian War is clouded by conflicting accounts. Some ancient historians claim he indulged in luxuries, even while on campaign, preferring feasts, games, and the company of actors and entertainers to the discipline of military command. Others suggest that while he may not have been a tactical genius, he delegated effectively to capable generals such as Avius Cassius, who achieved significant victories against the Parthians. The Parthian War, which lasted from 161 to 166 AD, was one of the defining episodes of Lucius Verus's reign. Rome's armies eventually captured the great cities of Seleucia and Ctesiphon, delivering a humiliating blow to the Parthians and asserting Rome's dominance in the east. Lucius returned to Rome hailed as a conqueror, celebrating a triumph with Marcus Aurelius. This event elevated his prestige, countering criticisms of his lifestyle and proving that under his nominal leadership, Rome had secured one of its greatest victories of the century. Yet this victory was bittersweet, for the returning soldiers carried with them a deadly disease, what later became known as the Antonine Plague. This pandemic, likely smallpox or measles, would ravage the empire for years, causing immense demographic and economic strain. Ironically, the very campaign that secured Lucius's glory also unleashed one of Rome's greatest internal disasters. The personality of Lucius Verus, as described by ancient sources, has fascinated historians for centuries. Cassius Dio noted his physical beauty and charisma, but criticized his lack of seriousness compared to Marcus. The Historia Augusta accused him of indulgence, gambling, and love of luxury, suggesting he preferred the pleasures of life to the burdens of rule. He was said to have been deeply interested in gladiatorial contests and theatrical performances, surrounding himself with entertainers, musicians, and mistresses. Unlike Marcus Aurelius, whose image was carefully cultivated as the philosopher-emperor who lived modestly and devoted himself to duty, Lucius often appeared as the antithesis, a man more concerned with pleasure than with philosophy. However, one must be cautious in accepting these portraits uncritically. Roman historiography often relied on moralizing contrasts, setting up one emperor as virtuous by painting his colleague as decadent. It is possible that Lucius was a capable and pragmatic leader whose more flamboyant lifestyle simply provided convenient material for critics. His relationship with Marcus Aurelius was complex, but appears to have been largely harmonious. Despite their differences in character, the two emperors managed to cooperate effectively, a fact that speaks volumes about Marcus's ability to balance personalities and Lucius's willingness to share authority without attempting to undermine his co-ruler. There is no record of serious rivalry or civil conflict between them, which is remarkable given Rome's history of bloody power struggles. Instead, they presented a united front, issuing joint edicts, appearing together in public ceremonies, and sharing honors equally. The Senate recognized them both as Augusti, and coins were struck with their images side by side, symbolizing the novelty of their dual rule. This arrangement may have reflected Marcus's pragmatism. By allowing Lucius a share of power, he avoided alienating a member of the imperial family and secured broader support for his reign. Beyond military and political matters, Lucius Verus's reign also provides insights into the cultural life of Rome in the mid-2nd century AD. The empire was still at the height of its power and prosperity, with stable borders and flourishing cities. Art, architecture, and literature thrived, and Lucius, with his taste for luxury and entertainment, may have acted as a patron of these cultural expressions. He embodied the more flamboyant side of Roman elite culture, contrasting with Marcus's austere stoicism. The dual emperorship thus symbolized not just a political experiment, but also the coexistence of two different visions of Roman identity, one rooted in discipline, philosophy, and duty, and the other in pleasure, spectacle, and enjoyment of life's finer things. Yet Lucius's reign was not without personal struggles. His health was not robust, and he reportedly suffered from illnesses throughout his life. Ancient accounts describe his fondness for indulgence in food and drink, which may have contributed to physical weakness. Despite his image as a vigorous and handsome young man, he was vulnerable to disease, and this vulnerability would eventually cut his reign short. In 168 AD, while campaigning alongside Marcus Aurelius against Germanic tribes on the Danube frontier, Lucius fell ill. His condition rapidly worsened, and by early 169 AD, he died at the age of only 38. His sudden death shocked Rome, leaving Marcus Aurelius as sole emperor at a time when the empire faced mounting external threats and the ongoing devastation of the Antonine Plague. The aftermath of Lucius Verus's death further shaped his historical reputation. Marcus Aurelius, loyal to his co-emperor even in death, ensured that Lucius was honored with full imperial rights. He was deified by the Senate, becoming Divus Verus, and his memory was preserved alongside other deified emperors. Yet over time, as Marcus's legacy grew ever more luminous, Lucius's image faded, overshadowed by the philosopher king's towering reputation. Later historians often dismissed him as a lightweight, a man who enjoyed the pleasures of life but left little lasting impact on the empire. This judgment may be too harsh, for Lucius presided over real military victories, maintained stability during his rule, and proved that joint emperorship was possible without descending into civil war. His reign deserves recognition, not just as an appendix to Marcus's greatness, but as an integral part of the Antonine era, a period often considered the golden age of Rome. The life and reign of Lucius Verus reveal the multifaceted nature of Roman imperial power. He was not the philosopher, nor the reformer, nor the iron-fisted general, but he was a man of his time, embodying the Roman elite's pursuit of spectacle and leisure while still fulfilling the duties of his station. His story reminds us that the empire was not ruled only by austere figures of duty, but also by men of flesh and blood who sought pleasure, struggled with weaknesses, and shared power in unexpected ways. Part 1 of his tale sets the stage for a deeper exploration into the Parthian campaign, the plague that reshaped Rome, and the unique partnership with Marcus Aurelius that defined his years on the throne. When Lucius Verus returned from his eastern campaigns in 166 CE, he was celebrated as a victorious general, but his triumph was far more symbolic than genuine. The reality was that much of the fighting in Armenia and Parthia had been managed by capable subordinates such as Avidius Cassius, while Verus himself preferred the comfort of Antioch, Laodicea, and Daphne, indulging in banquets, theater, and leisure. Despite his distance from the actual battlefield, the Roman Senate and people hailed him as a conqueror, for Rome needed the image of success to reaffirm its dominance over its eastern rivals. He entered Rome in triumph alongside Marcus Aurelius, with the Parthian spoils paraded through the city. The image of co-emperors ruling together, bringing home victory and stability, was carefully projected. Yet, beneath the surface, Rome was entering a new era of turbulence, and Lucius Verus would be both a participant and a victim in the challenges that followed. The return of Lucius Verus coincided with one of the most devastating crises of the Roman world, the Antonine Plague. This epidemic, brought back by soldiers from the eastern campaigns, likely smallpox or measles, began to spread rapidly across the empire. What started as isolated cases in the legions soon erupted into a full-scale pandemic. Reports suggest that entire towns were emptied, the population of Rome itself diminished by tens of thousands, and soldiers died in droves. The historian Cassius Dio describes a grim scene of constant funerals, while Galen, the famous physician, left detailed notes of its symptoms: fever, pustules, and prolonged weakness. Lucius Verus, despite his position, could not escape the sense of foreboding that the plague introduced. He had left Rome as a symbol of vigor and triumph, but he returned to a city in mourning, forced to celebrate military victory in the midst of death and sorrow. Despite the spread of disease, Rome still demanded stability and leadership. The dual emperorship continued to function in theory, but in practice, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, took on the burdens of administration and long-term planning, while Lucius Verus embodied a more public ceremonial role. He attended the games, presided over festivals, and engaged with the aristocracy, often through lavish feasts and displays. His reputation for indulgence continued to grow, yet he was not universally condemned. Many in the Senate appreciated his ability to charm and entertain. For Rome as elite had long valued leaders who upheld the traditions of spectacle and luxury alongside governance. The partnership between Marcus and Verus was not without strain. Marcus Aurelius, disciplined and deeply committed to Stoic philosophy, regarded duty and moral responsibility as paramount. He often grew frustrated with Verus's preference for ease and leisure. Yet Marcus also understood the political necessity of maintaining harmony. The empire had already been destabilized during the reigns of Caligula, Nero, and Domitian, when personal conflicts among rulers turned into open crises. Thus, Marcus tolerated his co-emperor's flaws, recognizing that unity at the top was vital for the survival of the empire. The years following Verus's return also saw increased pressure along the northern frontiers. The Germanic tribes, particularly the Marcomanni and Quadi, were testing Rome's defenses along the Danube. These tribes, emboldened by internal Roman distractions and weakened borders due to the plague, began raiding deeper into imperial territory. Marcus Aurelius knew that a major military response would eventually be necessary, but he was also acutely aware that the empire could not sustain another prolonged war so soon after the costly campaigns in the east. For the moment, diplomacy and temporary truces were sought, while resources were gradually reorganized for the inevitable conflict. Lucius Verus, for his part, showed little enthusiasm for northern campaigns. He much preferred the culture and pleasures of Rome. Theaters, gladiatorial shows, banquets, and luxurious villas occupied his time. Ancient sources accuse him of excesses gambling, heavy drinking, and relationships with actors and dancers. But it is also worth noting that Roman emperors were often targets of moral criticism, especially when they deviated from the stern image of duty and sacrifice. Varus's lifestyle reflected the Hellenistic tradition of rulers as figures of grandeur and entertainment, a tradition that Rome both criticized and admired. Nevertheless, his reign was not without contributions. Lucius Verus took an interest in architecture and public works. He supported building projects that enhanced Rome's grandeur, and he was involved in the patronage of artists and performers. He also recognized the importance of keeping the Roman populace entertained, ensuring that games and spectacles were frequently held. In this way, he preserved the loyalty of the people, who often judged emperors less by their administrative skills and more by their generosity and ability to provide bread and circuses. Despite his personal reputation, Lucius Verus remained a symbol of imperial power. Coins were minted bearing his image, inscriptions celebrated his victories, and his name was invoked in official decrees. The ideological purpose of his reign was as important as the reality of his actions. Rome needed the appearance of two strong emperors, united in purpose, standing as guardians of the empire. In this sense, Verus's very existence alongside Marcus Aurelius helped maintain the illusion of stability, even as crises mounted. But the plague continued to wreak havoc. It spread through the countryside, devastated the legions, and reduced Rome's tax base. The economic strain was enormous, forcing the emperors to sell imperial treasures to raise funds. Marcus Aurelius auctioned off golden goblets, silk garments, and even jewels belonging to the imperial family to finance the state. Verus, too, contributed in his way, though he lacked the philosophical gravitas of his adoptive brother. The plague's long-term impact cannot be overstated. Population decline, weakened armies, and diminished trust in Rome's invulnerability all became defining features of the late Antonine era. In 168 CE, the northern situation grew dire enough that Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus decided to leave Rome together and take personal command of the legions along the Danube. This was a significant moment, for it marked the first time the two emperors were visibly united in a military endeavor within the heart of Europe. For the Roman people, this was a reassuring sign that their leaders were committed to defense. For the soldiers, it was a morale boost to see both emperors on campaign. Yet fate had different plans for Lucius Verus. As they traveled north, Verus fell ill. Ancient historians differ on the exact cause, but most accounts attribute it to the plague. His symptoms worsened rapidly, and despite the best efforts of physicians, his health declined. Marcus Aurelius, deeply concerned, reportedly cared for him personally, staying by his side during his final days. In early 169 CE, Lucius Verus died at the age of 39, cutting short his co-rule after nearly 9 years. His sudden death shocked Rome, for he was still young and in the prime of life, and it underscored the devastating power of the epidemic that had spread throughout the empire. His body was returned to Rome, where Marcus Aurelius ensured that he was honored with full imperial rights. Verus was deified, declared Divus Verus by the Senate, and placed among the gods of Rome. His ashes were interred in Hadrian's mausoleum, alongside other emperors of the Antonine dynasty. Despite his indulgences and shortcomings, Rome chose to remember him as a victorious leader, a co-ruler who had safeguarded the empire's eastern provinces and stood beside Marcus in times of need. The legacy of Lucius Verus is complex. On one hand, he was a ruler who enjoyed luxury, avoided responsibility, and left much of the hard work to others. On the other, he was a vital part of the Antonine system, a figure who embodied imperial prestige, strengthened the legitimacy of dual emperorship, and provided Rome with an image of grandeur. His reign, though overshadowed by Marcus Aurelius's brilliance, remains significant as a reflection of Rome's duality, duty and indulgence, philosophy and spectacle, austerity and pleasure. Thus, Part 2 of Lucius Verus' story highlights not only his personal character, but also the broader challenges of the Roman Empire during his reign: the plague, economic strain, frontier instability, and the delicate balance of shared power. His life serves as a reminder that Rome's emperors were not merely individuals, but symbols, woven into the vast tapestry of imperial survival and decline. The death of Lucius Verus in 169 CE left a complex legacy for Rome. Though he had shared the imperial throne with Marcus Aurelius for nearly a decade, his reign was often overshadowed by the philosopher emperor's accomplishments. Lucius's image in historical accounts is mixed. Some portray him as a figure of indulgence, a man of pleasure and spectacle who lacked the discipline of Marcus Aurelius, while others acknowledge his role in preserving stability and representing imperial authority in times of crisis. To understand Lucius Verus's impact, one must look beyond the moralizing tone of ancient historians and consider the political, military, and cultural context of his life. His existence as co-emperor reflected both the ingenuity and the vulnerabilities of the Roman political system, demonstrating the empire's ability to adapt to new forms of leadership while revealing the inherent risks of shared power. One of Lucius Verus's most enduring contributions was the precedent he set as a co-emperor. Roman history had witnessed periods of joint rule, but few arrangements were as formally recognized or as publicly acknowledged as that between Marcus Aurelius and Verus. Coins, inscriptions, and public ceremonies consistently portrayed the two emperors as equals, reinforcing the legitimacy of their shared authority. This dual emperorship allowed Marcus Aurelius to focus on administrative reforms, philosophy, and domestic crises, while Verus, whether actively or symbolically, managed the ceremonial and military aspects of governance. In this sense, Lucius Verus played an essential role in ensuring continuity, preventing the concentration of power in a single individual and allowing Rome to maintain cohesion during a period of plague, war, and internal instability. The Parthian campaigns, which had initially brought Lucius Verus public acclaim, were also a defining feature of his reign. Though historians often emphasize his personal detachment from battlefield strategy, it is important to recognize the practical outcomes of the war. Roman forces, under generals such as Avidius Cassius, achieved victories that reaffirmed Rome's dominance in the east, capturing key cities like Seleucia and Ctesiphon. These successes had long-term strategic consequences, securing Rome's eastern frontier and projecting the empire's power to neighboring kingdoms. Lucius Verus's symbolic leadership provided a focal point for these campaigns, legitimizing victories through the authority of his imperial presence. Even if he did not personally devise military tactics, the fact that he assumed command and received accolades demonstrates the importance of perception in Roman politics. The appearance of leadership was often as critical as the reality. Despite these accomplishments, the Antonine Plague remained an enduring shadow over Lucius Verus's reign. The epidemic decimated populations across the empire, claiming countless lives, weakening the army, and reducing economic productivity. Rome's tax base suffered, and the state had to implement extraordinary measures to maintain financial stability. Marcus Aurelius, ever the philosopher emperor, took a hands-on approach to governance, while Verus's involvement in administrative responses appears to have been minimal. Yet the co-emperor's presence provided reassurance to the populace, signaling that the imperial office was intact and functioning, even as the empire struggled with crisis. The duality of their roles, Marcus managing philosophy and administration, Verus embodying military and ceremonial authority, was a pragmatic solution to unprecedented challenges. Cultural life under Lucius Verus also deserves attention. His love of spectacles, theater, and entertainment was criticized by some contemporaries, but also reflects broader Roman values. Public games, feasts, and artistic patronage were integral to maintaining loyalty among citizens and soldiers alike. By supporting these cultural practices, Verus helped stabilize society, providing a sense of normalcy and continuity amidst epidemic and war. His efforts ensured that the imperial image remained vibrant and that Rome's traditions continued to flourish, even as crises threatened to destabilize daily life. In this sense, Verus's indulgence can be interpreted not merely as personal weakness, but as a tool of political strategy, aligning the emperor with the expectations of Roman elites and the broader populace. Lucius Verus's personal character remains a subject of debate. Ancient sources often emphasize his love of pleasure, gambling, and social entertainments, contrasting sharply with Marcus Aurelius's stoicism and moral discipline. Yet these portrayals may be exaggerated. Roman historians frequently used moral comparisons to highlight the virtues of one emperor by depicting a contemporary as morally deficient. While Verus undoubtedly enjoyed luxury, his ability to share power, command respect in ceremonial matters, and navigate the complexities of the imperial office suggests a pragmatic and adaptable leader. His charm, physical presence, and social skills allowed him to maintain public favor and support from the Senate, which was essential for maintaining stability during times of crisis. The death of Lucius Verus left Marcus Aurelius as the sole ruler of Rome, a position that carried both immense authority and tremendous responsibility. The philosopher emperor mourned his co-ruler and friend, ensuring that Verus received proper honors, including deification as Divus Verus. This act not only respected Lucius' memory, but also reinforced the sanctity and continuity of the Antonine dynasty. The Senate, loyal to both emperors, ratified the deification, commemorating Verus in public inscriptions, monuments, and official records. Despite his comparatively short reign and his reputation for indulgence, Lucius Verus's contributions were thus formally recognized, securing a place for him in Rome's imperial legacy. Historiographically, Lucius Verus's reputation has been shaped by contrast with Marcus Aurelius. Later historians emphasized his indulgence and lack of philosophical depth, often portraying him as a foil to the disciplined and virtuous Marcus. However, a more nuanced assessment considers the structural and symbolic importance of his reign. Lucius Verus maintained stability in Rome, while his co-emperor addressed more complex challenges, participated in symbolic military victories, and upheld the ceremonial and social functions of the empire. These contributions, though less celebrated, were vital to Rome's continued prosperity and security. His life illustrates the ways in which power can be exercised differently by two individuals, each contributing to the state in complementary ways. The co-emperorship of Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus also provides insight into the governance structures of the Roman Empire during the 2nd century CE. Unlike earlier periods, when succession often involved violent conflict, the adoption system and formalized joint rule allowed for a relatively peaceful transfer of authority. The dual reign demonstrates how Rome experimented with sharing power to manage an increasingly complex empire. Lucius Verus's role, though sometimes criticized for lack of rigor, was integral to this system, showing that an emperor's influence could extend beyond military campaigns and administrative reforms to include cultural, ceremonial, and symbolic dimensions. Moreover, Lucius Verus's personal life and behavior reflect the broader social and cultural norms of the Roman elite. His enjoyment of banquets, theater, and athletic contests was consistent with aristocratic values of public display, competition, and social engagement. While modern historians may judge these behaviors as indulgent or excessive, in the context of Roman society, they reinforced status, authority, and influence. Verus's ability to navigate these social expectations while maintaining public favor demonstrates political acumen, even if it lacked the moral rigor admired by philosophers. In assessing Lucius Verus's historical significance, it is essential to balance criticisms with recognition of his accomplishments. He participated in one of Rome's major Eastern campaigns, upheld imperial prestige, contributed to cultural and ceremonial life, and ensured continuity of governance alongside Marcus Aurelius. His death from the Antonine Plague underscores both the vulnerability of even the most powerful individuals in the face of disease and the immense challenges facing Rome during this period. Part 3 of his story thus emphasizes the dual nature of his reign: personal indulgence intertwined with public service, symbolic authority alongside practical outcomes, and historical neglect overshadowed by his co-emperor's philosophical fame. The life and reign of Lucius Verus also serve as a case study in how history evaluates leaders. Ancient and modern commentators alike have tended to measure his achievements against those of Marcus Aurelius, often unfairly diminishing his role. Yet when considered on his own terms, Verus emerges as a figure who successfully maintained the empire's stability during a period of unprecedented challenges. His story reveals that leadership in the Roman world was multifaceted, encompassing not only military skill and philosophical virtue, but also charisma, social engagement, and the ability to embody imperial authority for the benefit of the state. Finally, Part 3 sets the stage for understanding Lucius Verus's long-term legacy. Though his reign was brief and his personal habits often criticized, he demonstrated that the Roman Empire could function under shared rule, that ceremonial and symbolic leadership mattered, and that an emperor's effectiveness could take many forms. The contrast between Verus and Marcus Aurelius highlights the diversity of leadership models within Rome, showing that stability and continuity often depended on cooperation and complementary strengths rather than a single, idealized form of authority. His story reminds us that history is not merely the tale of extraordinary individuals, but also the narrative of systems, partnerships, and the interplay of personal character with institutional demands. Following the death of Lucius Verus, Rome entered a period of reflection and adjustment, as the empire sought to reconcile the legacy of a co-emperor whose personal style contrasted so sharply with the philosopher Marcus Aurelius. Though Verus had passed, his influence continued to shape imperial governance, military strategy, and the symbolic image of leadership. The dual reign, though no longer active, had set precedents for political cooperation, illustrating that two emperors could jointly maintain authority without precipitating civil conflict. This system, which had seemed experimental to many contemporaries, now became a case study in Roman administrative resilience, revealing how personality, circumstance, and tradition could intersect to preserve imperial stability. Lucius Verus's death, while tragic in its suddenness, did not disrupt the continuity of power. Marcus Aurelius continued to govern effectively, yet the presence and memory of Verus continued to influence decisions in Rome. Lucius Verus's campaigns in the East had brought Rome significant strategic advantages, and the outcomes of these military actions resonated long after his demise. Cities such as Seleucia and Ctesiphon, captured under the command of generals like Avidius Cassius, became symbols of Roman dominance in the Parthian realm. While Verus himself may not have personally commanded the armies in battle, his role as the formal emperor and patron of the campaign lent legitimacy to Roman victories. These successes secured trade routes, established political stability in buffer regions, and reinforced Rome's reputation as a military superpower. The dual emperorship allowed Marcus to oversee the administration, while Verus symbolically led military endeavors, demonstrating a model of delegation and cooperation that contributed to the empire's strategic achievements. At the same time, the Antonine Plague continued to devastate the empire, marking one of the most severe demographic crises in Roman history. It spread widely through trade networks, military movements, and urban centers, reducing populations, weakening the legions, and causing economic contraction. The plague's persistence underscored the fragility of even the most powerful state when confronted with disease, and it shaped public perception of both emperors. Lucius Verus, although deceased, became associated with the Eastern campaigns that had inadvertently facilitated the spread of the disease. Yet the narrative surrounding Verus was complex. His military involvement, while linked to the epidemic, also demonstrated the necessity of imperial oversight and the challenges of controlling a vast, interconnected empire. The plague highlighted the interplay between human ambition, the limits of authority, and the uncontrollable forces of nature. Verus's personal style continued to influence Roman culture and expectations of leadership. His fondness for public spectacle, entertainment, and luxury, criticized by some historians, had also reinforced social cohesion. The games, festivals, and public displays he championed ensured that the population remained engaged and loyal, even as the empire confronted war and plague. By embodying the pleasures and grandeur of Roman elite culture, Verus maintained a visible connection between the emperor and the populace. This symbolic authority complemented Marcus Aurelius's more austere, philosophical approach, illustrating that leadership encompassed both practical governance and cultural influence. The duality of the Antonine emperors reflected a sophisticated understanding of power, where personality, image, and public perception were as critical as military and administrative skill. The deification of Lucius Verus, following his death, served both political and ideological purposes. By honoring him as Divus Verus, Marcus Aurelius ensured continuity of the Antonine dynasty and reinforced the sacred nature of imperial authority. Public monuments, inscriptions, and coins commemorated his achievements, allowing the memory of his reign to persist in Roman consciousness. The Senate's approval of his deification symbolized the enduring legitimacy of his co-rule and provided a model for integrating deceased emperors into Rome's official religious and political framework. Lucius Verus, in this sense, continued to exercise influence even in death, shaping the symbolic landscape of imperial power and providing a precedent for the veneration of rulers within the Antonine dynasty. The historiographical treatment of Lucius Verus has long been shaped by contrast with Marcus Aurelius. Ancient sources often emphasize his indulgence, portraying him as a man more devoted to pleasure than duty. Yet modern scholars increasingly recognize the importance of his symbolic, ceremonial, and administrative contributions. His role as co-emperor allowed for the division of labor in governance, facilitated military campaigns, and provided a public figurehead to maintain imperial prestige. In evaluating his reign, it is essential to separate personal morality from effectiveness in office. recognizing that Verus's strengths lay in diplomacy, social engagement, and the projection of authority rather than in austere philosophical practice. Lucius Verus's impact extended to the army as well. Soldiers respected the emperor as a figure of authority, and his presence in the East, even if largely ceremonial, contributed to morale and the perception of unity. The Parthian campaigns demonstrated that leadership could be exercised indirectly, through delegation and strategic oversight, rather than direct battlefield command. Verus's ability to maintain loyalty, command respect, and provide symbolic leadership illustrates a broader understanding of Roman military and political culture, where perception, ritual, and personal presence were critical to sustaining power. The Antonine period, often described as a golden age of Rome, owed much to the partnership between Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus. Their complementary approaches, one philosophical, one charismatic, allowed the empire to navigate crisis, conduct successful military campaigns, and manage internal stability. Lucius Verus, while less celebrated, contributed to this era's achievements, demonstrating that leadership could take multiple forms. His death marked the end of dual emperorship for the Antonine dynasty, yet the lessons of his reign persisted in Roman governance and influenced subsequent emperors who would experiment with shared power and delegated authority. The life of Lucius Verus also offers insights into Roman attitudes toward morality, leadership, and public expectation. While his indulgences were criticized by contemporaries and historians, they also reflect the complex social and cultural context of elite Roman life. The emperor's role was not solely to govern. It was to embody the grandeur, prestige, and cultural values of Rome. Verus's love of spectacle, art, and ceremony reinforced his position, illustrating that effective leadership often required the cultivation of public image, alongside administrative skill. His legacy challenges modern assumptions about what constitutes successful rule, emphasizing adaptability, symbolic authority, and the negotiation of social expectations. In conclusion, Part 4 of the Lucius Verus series highlights the enduring significance of his reign, even after death. His contributions to military campaigns, public morale, ceremonial life, and the structural stability of the Antonine system demonstrate that his influence extended beyond immediate administrative acts. Lucius Verus embodied a model of leadership that balanced pleasure and responsibility, image and substance, presence and delegation. Though overshadowed by Marcus Aurelius's philosophical and moral achievements, his life remains an essential chapter in understanding the complexity of Roman imperial power. His story illuminates the interplay of personality, circumstance, and institutional necessity, showing that even emperors remembered for indulgence could leave a lasting mark on history. The life and reign of Lucius Verus conclude with an examination of his enduring legacy and historical significance, a complex narrative that blends triumph, indulgence, and symbolic authority. Though often overshadowed by his co-emperor, Marcus Aurelius, Verus played an essential role in maintaining the stability of the Roman Empire during one of its most critical periods. His achievements, both tangible and symbolic, demonstrate the multifaceted nature of imperial power and highlight how personality, circumstance, and institutional structure intersected in the governance of Rome. While historical accounts frequently emphasize his indulgence and love of luxury, a careful analysis reveals a leader who contributed to military victories, upheld ceremonial traditions, and ensured the continuity of the Antonine dynasty in ways that were essential to the empire's resilience. Lucius Verus's military legacy, particularly his association with the Parthian campaigns, remains one of his most significant contributions. Although he delegated the majority of battlefield decisions to experienced generals such as Avidius Cassius, his formal presence as co-emperor provided legitimacy to Rome's victories. Cities captured in the east, including Seleucia and Ctesiphon, not only bolstered Roman prestige, but also established a lasting framework for control over the region. These military successes reinforced Rome's strategic dominance and demonstrated the effectiveness of a system in which symbolic leadership could complement operational command. Verus's role in these campaigns, therefore, was far from negligible. His status as emperor elevated the morale of troops and solidified the political authority of Rome across its eastern provinces. The Antonine Plague, which accompanied these campaigns, added complexity to Verus's reign. The epidemic caused widespread mortality, weakened legions, and disrupted the economy, leaving a lasting mark on the empire. While Marcus Aurelius bore the primary responsibility for administration and public health responses, Verus's presence and leadership helped maintain the semblance of stability during these crises. His symbolic authority reassured citizens, demonstrating that the imperial office remained intact and functional even amidst unprecedented challenges. The plague underscored the vulnerability of the empire to external shocks and highlighted the importance of visible leadership in maintaining social cohesion. Lucius Verus, though personally affected and ultimately a victim of the epidemic, played a role in sustaining the empire's resilience through his co-rule. Culturally, Lucius Verus had a profound impact on the Roman elite and the broader populace. His fondness for games, feasts, theater, and public spectacle, while criticized by some historians, reinforced the social bonds between the emperor and the citizens. By sponsoring entertainment and supporting the arts, he maintained loyalty and promoted cultural continuity during times of crisis. These actions reflected the values of Roman aristocracy and contributed to the perception of the emperor as both a political leader and a figure of prestige. The duality of Verus's reign, his indulgence balanced against his ceremonial and symbolic responsibilities, illustrates the diverse ways in which power could be exercised in the Roman Empire. Leadership was not solely about administration or military success. It also encompassed public perception, cultural patronage, and the cultivation of authority through presence and image. Lucius Verus's personal reputation remains one of the most discussed aspects of his historical portrayal. Ancient sources, particularly the Historia Augusta and Cassius Dio, emphasized his indulgence, physical beauty, and love of luxury. In contrast, Marcus Aurelius was presented as the paragon of stoic virtue, discipline, and philosophical reflection. These narratives, while illuminating, may exaggerate the contrast for rhetorical effect, emphasizing moral lessons rather than objective reality. Modern scholarship increasingly recognizes that Verus's lifestyle did not preclude effectiveness in governance or military campaigns. His charm, charisma, and social intelligence allowed him to manage complex political relationships, maintain public loyalty, and fulfill his duties as co-emperor in a manner complementary to Marcus Aurelius's austere approach. In essence, Verus demonstrates that leadership can manifest in diverse forms, including those less celebrated by historians focused on virtue and philosophical ideals. The deification of Lucius Verus, following his death in 169 CE, reinforced his symbolic significance and contributed to the cohesion of the Antonine dynasty. By elevating Verus to the status of Divus Verus, Marcus Aurelius ensured the continuity of dynastic legitimacy and underscored the sanctity of imperial authority. Public monuments, inscriptions, and coins commemorated his life and achievements, allowing his memory to persist in the cultural and political consciousness of Rome. These acts of commemoration highlight the ways in which emperors were remembered not merely for their personal actions, but also for the symbolic roles they played in maintaining the stability and legitimacy of the empire. Verus's deification ensured that his contributions, though sometimes overshadowed by Marcus's philosophical and moral accomplishments, were formally recognized and celebrated within the official narrative of Rome. The historiographical assessment of Lucius Verus has evolved over time. Early historians often depicted him as a cautionary figure, emphasizing moral failings and indulgent behavior as lessons in contrast to the disciplined leadership of Marcus Aurelius. However, Contemporary scholarship tends to adopt a more nuanced perspective, acknowledging his strategic, symbolic, and cultural contributions. Verus's reign exemplifies how an emperor's effectiveness can extend beyond direct administrative action, encompassing symbolic authority, cultural patronage, and the maintenance of public morale. By fulfilling these functions, Lucius Verus helped preserve the stability of the empire during one of its most challenging periods, demonstrating that leadership need not conform to a single idealized model to be impactful. The dual reign of Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus also provides insights into the governance structures of the Roman Empire during the 2nd century CE. The arrangement allowed for the division of responsibilities, with one emperor focusing on philosophical, administrative, and domestic matters, while the other managed ceremonial duties, public appearances, and military oversight. This complementary approach ensured continuity and stability, reducing the risks associated with concentrated power. Lucius Verus's presence was integral to this system, illustrating that imperial effectiveness could be achieved through cooperation, delegation, and the cultivation of symbolic authority alongside practical governance. Lucius Verus's legacy extends to the broader context of Roman political culture. His life highlights the ways in which personal character, social expectations, and institutional frameworks intersected to shape the exercise of power. While criticized for indulgence, he maintained public favor, commanded respect in military and ceremonial contexts, and contributed to the legitimacy of shared rule. The co-emperorship demonstrated that authority could be effectively distributed and that stability could be maintained, even when personal styles and dispositions differed. Verus's reign thus offers valuable lessons about adaptability, the role of image in governance, and the complex interplay between personal behavior and institutional responsibility. In conclusion, Part 5 of the Lucius Verus series emphasizes the enduring significance of his life and reign. Though overshadowed by Marcus Aurelius, he played a vital role in maintaining the stability, prestige, and cultural vitality of the Roman Empire. His contributions to military campaigns, ceremonial authority, public morale, and dynastic continuity demonstrate that leadership encompasses more than philosophy or moral rigor. Lucius Verus exemplifies the complexities of Roman imperial power, revealing how individual personalities, institutional structures, and historical circumstances intersected to shape the empire's trajectory. His story reminds us that even emperors remembered for indulgence and pleasure could leave a lasting mark on history, contributing to one of Rome's most celebrated periods, the Golden Age of the Antonine dynasty.